So Michael Porter Jr. is finally getting minutes for the Nugs, and it's going pretty well. 19 points against the Kings, 25 against the Pacers on 11 for 12 shooting. He did play only 10 minutes in the game in between, but hopefully the trend now is for him to get minutes. I mean, Mike Malone was kind of slow to get Porter into the rotation this year because of whatever reason. The team's got depth, and potentially Porter's health is still like a thing because the dude's got the back, and apparently there's a foot thing as well, so all that stuff. But hopefully we're seeing the beginning of his new role with this team, which is playing 20-something minutes, and whether that's starting or whatever, because for obvious reasons this dude should be getting a lot of minutes. I mean, his potential, I think he has the second highest potential on the team. I really do. Like, I wouldn't be shocked if he was a better player than Jamal Murray or Gary Harris or any of these guys by like 2 years from now. And if that means that someone's feelings have to get hurt in the rotation, whether it's Torrey Craig or Malik Beasley or Jeremy Grant or Will Barton or whoever, then you do it, because you got to get this guy in there eventually. And of course, because this team is good and you have so many options for who he can play over, you can make the transition from not playing Porter to playing him without too much trouble, I would imagine. And it could even open up some trades, because if suddenly Malik Beasley or something is expendable, then you could probably get something for him. He's going to be a restricted free agent, so that matters as well. But I think that's step one for Denver. It's just get this guy in there, and you can't have any more of the 7-8 minutes played things. I mean, even in this Houston game where we only played 10 minutes, like, even that's freaking me out a little bit, but that's the first thing. Anyway, if we get to just what Porter is showing off as a player now, I mean, he's showing off what at one time made him the top prospect in the country. The dude's, 6'10", and he's got a lot of scoring abilities. I mean, we're talking about a guy who's been hitting step backs. I mean, we're basically just going off of 2 games right now, but he's had like at least 1 or 2 step back threes, and there was a huge bucket he had at the end of the, I say end of the Pacers game, it was like 4 minutes left, but it was a close game, and Denver's possession was pretty much dead. It ended up in the hands of Porter with about maybe 7 or 8 seconds left, and he beat his guy off the dribble, and he made a contested layup, and that is a great sign, and that was the expectation. I mean, if this guy had no injury history at all, then he would have been selected in the top whatever with Luka and Ayton and Bagley and Trae Young and all them. So we're seeing it. And I think what's been cool is that the Nuggets have realized what they have in him already, because he's been doing some off-ball stuff. He has had a couple of plays in the half court where he's gotten a screen from somebody, and then he's cut off of that, and that's just given him a pretty easy lane to the basket, especially because it's Jokic making the pass, so you know it's going to be on time and in the right spot and all that stuff. And I know that's a pretty obvious thing to say, but how often do we see guys with potential where it's like, dude, why aren't you doing this or whatever? Whereas with Porter, again, it's a very small sample size, but it's like, okay, cool. Mike Malone realizes I can get this guy moving off the ball, and I can do a lot with that. And in terms of his off-ball stuff in general, I mean, we know with Porter, the shooting is a big deal. His jump shot looks a little chaotic, if you ask me, but he has been thought of as a very good shooter for his entire life, I believe, so I have no choice but to believe it's simply going to go in, and that's a floor spacer for you, which just creates another guy that you have to deal with in this Denver offense, because between Murray and Harris and Barton and Millsap, who can do stuff off the dribble, and he's been a little better from 3 this year, and now if Porter is in the mix there as well, and then Jokic is the orchestrator in the middle of all of it, yeah, that's a tough team to defend. And it was that similar thing that almost got them to the conference finals in their first season of being actually legit good. You know what I mean? Not just this team's kind of nice, but can they make the playoffs good? Now, we can still argue about this team's ceiling, and when it gets to the playoffs and you're facing good defenses that can game plan for you, and there's going to be more switching and stuff, and you just have to rely a little more on just individual talent. We can argue about if this team can go all the way under those circumstances, but Porter definitely makes a huge difference there. And the thing about that Indiana game was that wasn't just some random game. That was a road game against a good team, and it was close in the fourth quarter. And Porter looked totally fine. And just you know what? If it ends up in my hands, I'm going to do what I do. That's been a big thing. Even throughout missing a year, dealing with injuries, and not playing a lot, when Porter is in there, he seems totally unfazed. He's I know what I'm good at, and I know I can get my shot off over NBA players. And that's a good sign. Didn't he have some quote before he got drafted that was people were taken not out of context, but it was a moment of oh, this guy's really kind of full of himself. But I would say that is being used to his advantage at the moment. And another cool thing is just how much versatility he adds to this Denver team that is already pretty damn versatile, because I think Porter can play a number of positions. I think you can play him with Millsap. I think you could play him without Millsap as well, and whether that means an extra wing guy or you want to go really big with Porter, Millsap, and Jokic, or Plumlee, there's a lot of things this Denver team can do. As far as other little things with Porter, I don't think he's been afraid to mix it up down low. He's had a couple of layups and whatever else. He is averaging 1 offensive rebound a game this season, averaging only 10 minutes a game, so that's pretty cool. I mean, he had 3 offensive rebounds in that game against the Kings. He had 5 boards. None of them were offensive, but 5 nonetheless against the Pacers, so we're already seeing another thing he can do. His defensive potential is definitely there because the dude's huge and he's athletic. So yeah, he's got to play, is the point. And if that means, you look at this Indiana game, Malik Beasley and Torrey Craig didn't play at all. If that's how it's got to be, to where Porter is getting his minutes, then that's what's got to happen. I mean, Monte Morris played 14. Jeremy Grant played 20. I'm sure he'd love to play more, but if Porter's got to be in there. So that's it. He's been good.